Alrighty, Nic Goodman, welcome to the Agent Academy podcast.
Thanks, Mitch.
I was just doing a bit of research and I went back to one of your recent LinkedIn posts and it was talking about your first year owning Mint Realty. And I just wanted to go through some of these stats because I think they're amazing and let me know if I miss any. Obviously, you specialise in the high end in Hawke's Bay. You've had an average sale price of over $3 million, and that's not just last year, that's been the last couple of years. And you're more than double the average sale price of any other agent in the area.
Yeah,
Have I missed anything? That's
I
amazing.
don't think so. I think that's good.
I'd love to dive in to your journey, maybe how you actually got involved in real estate, and we can build from everything I read out just before to now.
Cool. Yeah, quite a convoluted journey to real estate. Did a recreation and tourism management degree from Lincoln, and sort of landed in sales in various locations. Then just in overseas, came back, got into sales again, so completely not using my degree. Always a good use of time and money to do a degree and then not use it. But really, I guess, realised that I was a people person and somebody who really didn't like being in an office, 8 hours a day. So worked for a variety of media, an advertising agency, did a postgrad diploma in marketing, just really had a passion for marketing. Then had a kind of very extraordinary sidestep, but super cool sidestep into managing a charitable trust here in Hawke's Bay. So got to know, like a heap of people from diverse backgrounds, and it was super fascinating, but very challenging. It was at a time that the government were really wanting this particular charitable trust to start working in lower decile areas, but weren't providing the funding. So it became a real challenge, and we had our house on the market at the time, and the managing director of the company came to see us because clearly our price expectation was significantly higher than where the market saw value, and suggested that I get out of doing what I was doing and come and take a seat in the Sotheby's office, which was just newly opened. And so did my papers in 2013, I think. That sounds like such a long time ago. And was did okay. I think I got Rookie of the Year that year, and kind of progressed from there. In Sotheby's, left there primarily because I actually felt like I was done with real estate at the end of 2021. Had a year off with one of our kids doing teacher aiding, which was not my forte. Don't know how he's still alive and I, am not in some kind of unit for people that require a lot of padding. Anyway, we got through, and he has gone on and is doing really well, so that's awesome. And realised during that time that so many people were reaching out, previous clients, and just mates wanting advice on real estate and who do we use and can't you come back and can't you just do it anyway, and so launched Oliver Road into Hawke's Bay, so super boutique, at the time only based in the Bay of Plenty, just a small agency that only did high value property, and I absolutely loved their marketing. That was what attracted me to the company. There's just beautiful imagery, and it was really fun and interesting launching a new agency into Hawke's Bay. Timing couldn't have been worse. In terms of the economy, the fact that Hawke's Bay then had major natural disaster in terms of Cyclone Gabriel, which really kind of stuffed everything up for quite a significant period of time, made selling real estate really quite challenging, even access to properties and things like that, and everything else that was going on in Hawke's Bay, which was really tragic. So decided that I was quite keen to try something for myself, and Sam and I had been talking for a long time actually, and I think even you, Mitch, had a conversation with me, and I just hadn't been brave enough. But I guess having launched something already in Hawke's Bay through Oliver Road, it didn't seem that scary, and so ripped into it very quickly, launching at the end of January in 2025. So good. Just over a year.
What a journey! I'd love to dive back to the very beginning. It seems like all of your previous experience was almost just kind of weaving this journey for you to be the most rounded real estate agent in terms of, having experience in marketing, getting to know the community, having worked in that space. It almost all aligned for you to become a real estate agent. Was property something or becoming an agent something that you'd always considered, or was it just from that one conversation with the owner at Sotheby's and it was like, how did I get here?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It definitely wasn't something I had even vaguely considered. And I think at the time I was very much like, no, I don't think it's me. I don't think, I can't kind of see myself doing that. But I don't know whether it was the experience we'd had with real estate agents, which wasn't vast. That was our kind of only our second property sale, I guess. And had 3 small children. I actually really don't know what I was thinking. Kind of crazy, really, actually, when I look back on it. But I guess probably agent stage. It was pretty much a good time-ish for me to do something that wasn't completely kind of contract work or home focused or whatever else. So it was great. It was great once I got into it.
And did you go straight into the high end? I know obviously Sotheby's works in the higher end of the market all across the country. Was that the market that you wanted to go in, or it just seemed to land that way?
Yeah, no, that was definitely the way I wanted it to land, and it was actually the suggestion of the managing director, who said, like, that you're completely the right demographic. You've got such a huge range of contacts, and going forward you'll be kind of growing into it, I guess. I was definitely the youngest in the office by a long shot at that point, and the only newbie. So there were very experienced agents in the office, but they were probably the age maybe I am now, maybe. I'm not sure. Something like that, anyway. But it was great. It was good to kind of cut my teeth in something like that. It ended up not going in the direction I thought it was. It just kind of, the brand changed over time, and that wasn't for me.
And for agents that are working in maybe, your kind of bread and butter properties that turn over a little bit faster, what are some of the key differences you notice working in the high end that maybe mentally they need to get their head around? I know maybe having a longer average days on market. What are some of the things that I guess mentally an agent would need to consider if they're looking to get into that high end market?
Yeah, I mean, look, some agents do dabble in the high end market, but that's kind of not their bread and butter. I guess for me, like, I've decided completely to go down the niche route. But with that, there are, you're definitely not getting paid very often. There are long periods between drinks sometimes, and for me that's okay. But for most agents, that probably wouldn't really work, depending on what their situation is. The other thing too, that I find is that my properties don't come to market quickly, so I can have done an appraisal in 2025 and it finally comes to the market in 2027, and that's kind of standard. Like, there's a lot of prep that goes in. It would be very unusual for me to go and look at a property for the first time and to have listed it and got it live within 2 months. That would be super rare. I'm doing a couple at the moment that, but that would for me be super unusual. It's usually months and months or years of lead-in time, so it kind of is a little hard to plan with that.
What do you think are the misconceptions around working in the high end? You know, some agents that are doing, you know, maybe 30 or 40 properties a year, and they've kind of got this, you know, quick turnover pace. They might think that, oh, if I go and just sell less homes, I can do less work. But it's not less work; it's just different type of work, right?
It's just different. I think, you know, you're dealing with vendors who obviously have ended up owning that property for a reason. You know, that they're generally smart business people. They've done super well in life. They expect high service, high touch points, great communication. Things to have been done a week ago, you know, not today. And it's the same with buyers, high expectation on quality of information provided, and, you know, that ongoing relationship, I guess, even post-sale for whatever that might be. Yeah, generally, you know, you're dealing with high net worth individuals. They're used to getting well serviced and potentially what they want.
And I guess what do you need to look at differently in terms of the service levels when you're working with these high net worth individuals? Is it the frequency of touch points, or is it having an understanding of only needing to share information that's relevant to them, or is it going case by case depending on your client? How do you evaluate what that looks like?
Yeah. It's super case by case, and I usually have a conversation with them right up front. You know, what is the method of communication that you feel best with? Most of my vendors are either frequent travellers, don't live in Hawke's Bay, or are actually just too busy, and they just want the job done, and they probably don't want to be over communicated with, but when they are communicated with, they want it to be really super specific and factual, not kind of like, you know, yeah, Mary didn't like your property because it was, you know, too dark, or I don't know, you know, like there's kind of none of that kind of detail in terms of vendor reporting it, but it's very stat focused. You know, how many properties have sold in this particular area over this particular level, how many are on the market, you know, like very specific stuff rather than kind of airy-fairy stuff.
And I know with Mint that you've decided to specifically work in the high end, and, you know, if there's properties that come to you that maybe don't fit certain parameters, you've looked to pass them off. Is there a reason why you don't kind of just sell a couple, you know, on the side to close a couple of deals and then have these bigger ones that you work on? Talk to me about why you've decided to only niche in the high end and really specialize.
I think there's you know, agencies in theory that are, you know, portraying themselves as luxury real estate companies, but their agents are actually selling anything from like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom flat in kind of an area that definitely wouldn't be deemed to be a luxury area. And so for me, I just really wanted to hyper focus on that luxury and high value property. And I think if I diverted from that, I'd be just like all of them. And that's not what I want to do. Like, it's just, you know, it's not what I want to do. It's not what I set out to do. And I do get a lot of opportunity to go and view property. And I turn down a lot of opportunities. I have some great agents in various companies that I refer off to. Because I know that they'll do a great job for those particular vendors. It's, you know, I'm at a, you know, agent stage where it's just not my gig. You know, that I want to focus on doing what I'm doing.
And if I'm an agent that's wanting to get into that high end space, but I'm a little bit nervous of turning away my bread and butter, what advice would you have for me?
I guess you kind of have to choose, like, do you want to stick with one thing, or do you want to just be a generalist? Because being a specialist, you do have to do a lot more, I guess, background research on properties, because people are expecting that. And I think if you're more of a generalist, you can kind of get away with stuff, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what advice I have, Mitch. Work out whether you really want to only be doing high-end. That's not going to suit everyone, because, a lot of agents are really going to want more consistency around pay, and, volumes of listings and sales and all the rest of it. That's, I guess, it's personal choice.
Yeah. And one of the things you spoke about earlier is obviously the listings and the payments may come few and far between, or they might be a little bit sporadic. You might have some, instead of going a month or two, it might be 3, 4, 5, 6 months before properties settle. Would it be a case of maybe trying to create a bit of a buffer, for myself personally, if I was looking to get into that space, so then I could say no to those lower value properties a little bit easier? I think the idea for some agents is it's just like, I'm doing my $1.5 million properties, and I get the $2 or $2.5 million property come through, which is great, and it's a bit of a bonus, and that's where I want to be. But I just haven't created that buffer where I can say no to the other stuff and solely focus on that. Would that be something? You feel a little bit more confident when you got the nest egg behind you, knowing that you don't have to go and list that property?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then I think it's just being hyper-focused on what, who you're marketing to and how you're marketing, develop like a really epic database, really focused on those high-value properties in your region. I guess it might come with a little bit of financial pain in the short term, but yeah, I reckon longer-term game.
Yeah. And in terms of like the traditional nurturing of a database, someone might be sending, some weekly newsletters, market insights. They might be calling, their database to stay connected with them. Is there anything that you do differently, or is it the same or similar principles in, that human connection and that frequency that applies to, normal real estate and working in the high end?
I guess I have lots of kind of different touch points with people. So I have developed a really strong database of like old-fashioned mail, like putting it in an envelope and putting a stamp on it, which, do you know that a stamp now costs $2.90? I do. It's so expensive, it's ridiculous. And it only takes about 10 days for them to get it, What the hell? Anyway, that's fine, whatever, I'm not complaining. So about I should say that I do it every 2 months, because I think that's what Sam thinks I do, but that's probably not quite the case. So I actually develop a beautiful card, which generally has an update of the first, say, 3 months, first 6 months, first 9 months, whole year, a snapshot of how the market has gone, and say for me it's 2.5 million plus properties in Hawke's Bay. So just super informative. It gives them a little QR code to jump onto my newsletter, and so that goes out to about 650 homeowners. So address mail with their, actually address mail, and then I do a post office box drop as well. Just recently I've done one which is basically kind of a snapshot of Mint's first year, which I've had great feedback about, which has been really lovely. So that's kind of one touch point, I guess, relatively regularly, but not massively regularly. Then I do a email newsletter, again, very local focused, only speaking to the buyers and their consultants, the lawyers and accountants, specifically about the high-end property sales and market, and I do a little kind of Mint recommends, a local business that I think is cool for the month. So that goes out once a month, and then I do obviously any new listings or solds. Well, actually, I do a new listing email separate to that. I don't do a sold email. And then I have LinkedIn, and sort of try to be relatively active on social media as well.
So what I'm really getting is you're still doing, still have the aim of the frequency, you still have the aim of the touch points, but it really feels like those touch points are elevated. There's a bit more, care. There's a bit more thought. There's a bit more detail put into those touch points.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's not a DL card in the mailbox that's just been like biffed in by the paper boy.
And I want to go back to your moment where you came back into real estate. What advice would you have for someone that's maybe feeling like you were feeling when you were looking to get out and to go and try something new? Did you think that you had to leave the industry to know that you wanted to come back, and that's something that you would possibly recommend to someone that's maybe at that stage in their career where they're not sure what they want to do? Or would there be something else, if you could go back to give Nic some advice, what would you say?
I think it was a really terrible idea, Mitch, actually, because you kind of lose that momentum, and you kind of lose your database and your contacts and your social media pages, and you actually that's a really shit idea. Don't do it. No, what you should do, and which I had kind of in previous years, and maybe, I don't know, missed the ball that year, I can't remember, is go to a training. I'm like a lifelong learner, and so Eric, do it, just like pay the money, get over there, spend an extra couple of days at the end, go and have fun at Byron or do something else, but it's so buzzy, and you'll meet heaps of people, and there'll be just like, even if you come back with 5 gems that you will implement into your business, it's just love it. Love. So I think it's something like that, whether it's NZ Rec, I think Eric's probably better, but yeah, or just, listen to who do I listen to? Like, get onto somebody's newsletter. There's a really great guy called Chris Smith, I think it is. He sends out gems every day, and he does heaps of free online workshops, and I've got that often at like 6 a.m. because he's based in the States, but like, just I've got heaps of kind of all sorts of random gems, marketing gems, and other things from him. Just, I don't know, just delve into some learning.
Yeah, a change of environment, that's so true. I've noticed times in my career where I've just go through this kind of stale Groundhog Day, doing the thing, and then you put yourself in a different environment and you go expose yourself to some of those top performers, or you see the people on the stage, and there's often times where you relate to their story where they've gone through challenges, or they thought they wanted to give up, and you can see, you have that like me moment, and you can see yourself in their story, and it just provides that little bit of inspiration. And often when you don't have that inspiration, you don't feel like doing the things, and when you're not doing the things, business.
You're not getting the buzzer.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I understand that once you have that inspiration, you're probably doing more activity. When you're doing the activity, you're probably getting the listings. When you're getting the listings, real estate seems so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, 100%.
And
yeah, and I think you have to at the end of the day, you just have to be prepared to put in the hours. That's kind of, you can't do well unless you're putting in the time.
Yeah, totally. This has been great. There's been I think the key thing for me is understanding where you want to work in the market, and then tailoring everything that you do to make sure that happens. And I love what you said about just deciding where you want to work. It's okay to go and sell your $1 to $1.5 million properties, or if you're in different parts of the country, that might be $600,000 to $900,000 properties, and every now and then, you have that higher price property, and it's just a bonus. But if you really want to go and be perceived as the expert, you have to go all in, and you really have to niche and become an expert on everything in that market.
It could be that you want to be super focused on your suburb, but just do it. Jump in and make sure that you're totally the expert of that suburb. It doesn't have to be maybe about a value, but know everything about it. How do you get into the skills? I don't know, just know everything and just be, maybe that doesn't require a stamp in an envelope every couple of months, but maybe that is like doing something cool. Don't do a deal and just like chuck it in the mailbox like every other agent. Do something really different. Be different.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'd love to be able to catch up in another 6 or 12 months and see what years 2, 3, and 4, and continue the conversation and build upon what you've been able to share today.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Only.